بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
الحمد لله رب العالمين العاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين اللهم صل على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين ثم أما بعد الحمد لله حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه الحمد لله على نعمة الإسلام والسنة. All praise and thanks belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for guiding us to Islam and for guiding us to the Sunnah. We continue going over and looking at some of those things that we utilize to recite over ourselves for ruqya. Some of the things that we recite to medically treat ourselves by way of ruqya. We spoke about Surah Al-Fatiha, and this is from the greatest things by way in which a person could treat themselves for medical treatment. The Fadilat al-Shaykh Abdul Razak bin Shaykh Abdul Ahsan al-Abbad Hafidhahumullah ta'ala, he goes on to mention, he says, وَمِمَّا يُرْقَى بِهِ الْمَرِيضُ, he says, and from that which the sick individual could recite upon themselves al-mu'awwidhat, or what is called al-mu'awwidhat. And these are the last three surahs of the Quran. The last three surahs of the Quran. He mentions, he says, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ and قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ and قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ. That these three surahs, then they are from that which an individual who is sick or suffering from an ailment, they would recite over themselves by way of it. And the hadith that comes bearing this can be found inside of Al-Bukhari and Muslim, as it comes في صحيحين عن عائشة رضي الله تعالى عنها وأرضاها أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا اشتكى, that the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, when he had an ailment, this is what is understood and meant here, that when he had an ailment, when he suffered from something, right, يَقْرَأُ عَلَى نَفْسِهِ, then he will read upon himself. And this is something, again, that I want to stress, is that if you are sick, you have an ailment, then read upon yourself. Read upon yourself. Don't think that ruqya will be something that is reserved for someone else to come and read on you when you're feeling sick, but rather read upon yourself. As we find, this was the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he would read upon himself. Because as we mentioned, all medical treatment, then this is a means. This is a means by way in which an individual seeks for to treat that particular ailment. But the cure is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The cure is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is a must and it is incumbent that we connect ourselves to the one who cures the disease, and not the means by way in which the disease is cured. That we connect ourselves to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So if you get sick, read on yourself. Na'am. Recite upon yourself if you are sick, regardless of what that sickness is. Whether that is a sickness like an ailment that ails you, that you're suffering from, or whether that is a sickness that is linked to evil eye, or a sickness that is linked to the jinn, magic, so on and so forth, recite over yourself. Recite over yourself. Al-Shaykh Al-Hudayan, rahimahullah ta'ala, he mentioned that from the importance of reciting the Quran daily, from the importance and from the benefits of reciting the Quran daily, he said is that it will cure an individual from those type of ailments that may stem from magic, or that may stem from the evil eye and things of this nature, that it will help an individual. That it will help an individual. And bit by bit, as they recite over themselves, or as they read the Quran daily, bit by bit, whatever is afflicting them from by way of magic or evil eye or envy or things of this nature, then it will slowly dissipate until it goes away altogether. It will slowly dissipate until it goes away altogether. Also, another important point to mention is that as Shaykh Sulaiman al-Ruhaili, hafidhahullah ta'ala, he mentions, is that when an individual is doing ruqya upon themselves, reciting upon themselves, right? Or if an individual is reciting upon others, because also from the medical treatment, if we treat ourselves by way of it, then bila shak bila rayb, we want to treat our loved ones also by way of it. So we may have small children who are sick and they're suffering from whatever it is they're suffering from. So it is important that in addition to whatever they may be taken from medicine, other forms and types of medicine, that we also recite over them. We also recite over them, because reciting over a child who's suffering from whatever type of sickness, right? Will it hurt? No, it's not going to hurt, right? But if anything, it'll benefit. But as the Shaykh he mentioned, and this is the point, is that depending upon the ailment, reciting over it may take a very long time. He said it may take hours. Constant reciting for hours before you see an effect. Depending on the strength and the degree of the ailment, it may take a long time. And then depending on the strength and the degree of the ailment, as Shaykh bin Baz and others from the Mashaykh and the ulama, they mentioned, it may take just one time you read it and it's done. Maybe 2 times it's done. Maybe 3 times it's done. Now, depending on the strength. Also the ulama, they mentioned that the ruqya is as strong as the raqi, meaning the iman of the raqi. Now, so that also has a bearing to it. But the takeaway, what I want everyone to take away from this is that don't think that you recite for 35 seconds, 40 seconds, and then you don't see nothing. Okay, that's it, it's done. No, it's not like that. You have certain people who claim to be raqi and so on and so forth. They recite 2-3 minutes. Oh, the individual fine, no jinn. What do you mean? It may take a long time before you have an effect. It may take an hour, it may take a half an hour, it may take 20 minutes, right? And especially when it comes to jinn possession. Oh, this is a little bit off topic, we'll be talking now, but still within topic, right? It's all interconnected, right? But with certain degree of the jinn and so on and so forth, some of them are stronger than others, some of them more slick, more slide than others, and so on and so forth. It may take time before you wear them down and then you see the physical effects. So if a person comes and recite for 2 minutes, oh, it's fine. And then they leave. What happened? Nothing. You may have to recite for a while. Then you start seeing the effects. The jinn gets worn down. It gets beaten down. That shaitan gets beaten down, worn down. Now you start seeing the effects after some time. Right? So it's important. And bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, and we have time, inshallah ta'ala, we would like to go into the conditions for the legislative ruqya, and some of these things will be mentioned and more enforced or reinforced and emphasized upon bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. But in any event, it may take time. So if you're sick with the ailment and you're doing ruqya upon yourself, then don't think it's going to be 2-3 minute type of situation. It might or it might not. As Shaykh Sulaiman said, it may take hours. It may take hours. Now, but back to this, the Prophet ﷺ, as our mother Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha, she mentioned, أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كَانَ إِذَا اشْتَكَى, that when he used to have an issue, right? When he used to have an issue, something was ailing him. يَقْرَأُ عَلَى نَفْسِهِ, and he would read upon himself. He would read upon himself. Another point that comes to mind when looking at this is that, alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has guided us to Islam and guided us to the Sunnah. Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has guided us to the way of the Salaf al-Salih. Alhamdulillah, we say we are from Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. Na'am. Alhamdulillah, we say that we are Salaf. Na'am. Alhamdulillah. But it's not just reserved, the whole of the situation is not just in you making that claim. The whole of the situation is not in you just verbally articulating that thing. I'm Salafi. Okay, أنا من أهل السنة والجماعة. Okay, أنا أثري. Okay, that's the end of it now? Just because we said it, that's it? Of course not. If we are striving to be upon the way of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then this will enter into all aspects of our life, meaning that we should be earnestly striving to imitate the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We should be striving to imitate the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because when we read through the biographies of the Sahaba, wasn't this their way? They used to try to imitate the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This was their way. Whatever they saw the Prophet ﷺ doing, they should strive to do it and be like the Prophet ﷺ. Now, this was the way of the Sahaba. Okay, we say we're upon the way of the Sahaba, but then in so many facets and aspects of our lives, we have no problem being totally contrary to the Prophet ﷺ. What kind of Salafi is that? What kind of Athari is that? Right? What kind of Sunni is that? We should be striving our best to be upon the way of the Prophet ﷺ in all aspects of our lives, because what? Is it going to hurt you? Striving to imitate the Prophet ﷺ? Something bothers you, you get an ache, you get a pain, you start reciting over yourself. Does that hurt you? Does that hurt you to imitate the Prophet ﷺ? No way, it does not hurt you. It's only good for you. Everything is upside for you. It's all benefit, and no matter how you look at it, it's benefit from every way, shape, and form. So how come we not doing it? How come this is not a concern on our mind? How come we are not striving earnestly to really try to be like the Prophet ﷺ? And then people have the audacity to say that there's no change inside the community. There's no change inside the community. The Quran and the Sunnah is not affecting you. So you think the problem is in the Quran and the Sunnah? No, the problem is in you. You're the problem. You're the problem because you're not truly submitting to it. You're the problem because you're not opening up yourself to it. You're the problem because you're not doing what you know you should be doing. You're the problem because you're doing what you know you should not be doing. You're the problem. You're the problem. Right? على كل حال, the Prophet ﷺ إذا كان الشك, if he were to be bothered by something, يقرأ على نفسه بالمعوذات, then he would read upon himself and mu'awwidhat, وينفث, and he would spittle. Right? Remember we explained it's not a blow and it's not a spit. It's in the middle. It's like a light spit with some spittle inside of it. Now he would spittle. فلما اشتد وجعه, but when his sickness became more increased. Now this is our mother Aisha. She's explaining. كنت أقرأ عليه. When his sickness became increased, she said, then I will recite upon him. Na'am. وَأَمْسَحْ بِيَدِهِ. And then I would wipe him with his hand. And then I would wipe with his hand. Meaning that our mother Aisha, radiallahu ta'ala anha, she would wipe the Prophet, she would recite, but then she would wipe the Prophet ﷺ using his hand. Right? Using his hand. Now, this shows the importance of of properly understanding the situation. So now a person come and he say, okay, so if a person is incapable of reciting over himself because the sickness has increased, right? So then I recite over that person, spittle inside of his hand, and then take his hand and wipe over him, and then that's from the Sunnah because of this hadith right here, collected by Bukhari and Muslim. Right? No, it's wrong. It's wrong. Why? Because if you go on and read the end of the hadith, our mother, she mentioned, رَجَاءَ barakatiha. Because I was hoping what? The barakat that's in his hand. The barakat of the hands of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The barakat is in the hands, that was in the hands of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that's why she would utilize his hands as opposed to her hands, because his hands are better than her hands. Does that make sense? No. Okay. But so if you're reciting over your child, for example, and you go to do this, the who hand you going to use to wipe over your child? Your own hands. Your own hands. Right? Because is there barakah in the hands of your child? Right? But these things are, no, it's not. But these things are very important. Because from the things of tabarak, seeking barakah from something is that what? Is that we only seek barakah from that in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put barakah inside of it. It's very important. It's very important. Now, we know the Prophet ﷺ, he was blessed, he was the Prophet ﷺ. So inside of his hands now was barakah. Right? But there are things that have a high status in the deen of al-Islam, but it's not like that. We don't seek barakah, we don't seek blessings from it. Right? So the Kaaba, for example, the Kaaba has a high status in the deen of al-Islam. High status in the deen of al-Islam. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not made the Kaaba, rubbing it, a source of the attainment of barakah. So for a person rubbing it, hanging on the door, and all these things that you see happening, it doesn't benefit a person. It doesn't benefit a person. Right? You know, you have certain fixtures there in the haram and things of this nature, light fixtures, electrical posts, and so on and so forth. Allah musta'an, there was a person, it was like rubbing on it. And you have the guards there, reminding the people, calling the good and forbidding the evil, and reminding them this type of stuff. And a guy was rubbing a lamppost looking for barakah. So the guard told him very simply, it's a lamppost. What are you doing? It's a lamp. Subhanallah, it's just a lamp. If you were to rub the Kaaba itself, Allah Ta'ala did not make that a source by means in which a person attains barakah. So now what do you think about a lamp? It's just a lamp. Right? So it's incumbent that we realize that we understand the likes of these things. Why? Because not understanding these things, that it will weaken your connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's what we don't want. We want to strengthen our connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Strengthen our dependence upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it is incumbent that we realize that we understand the likes of these things. But in any event, the hands of the Prophet ﷺ, they had barakah inside of them. So she would use his hands to wipe. Now, there comes a good question. Comes another hadith an Aisha radiyallahu ta'ala anha, أن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان ينفض على نفسه في المرض الذي مات فيه بمعوذات. That the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he used to, and this hadith also is here in Bukhari, that the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, he used to spittle upon himself, meaning he was spittle on his hands and wipe himself during the sickness from which he passed away, doing it, and he will use al-mu'awidhat. He will use the last three surahs, or as they say, the quls, right? The common phrase. He will use these. This right here shows you that when you're dealing with a particular issue, you have to look at all of the hadith inside of that particular affair, all of the ayat inside that particular affair, meaning all of the texts as related to that particular affair, to come to the proper conclusion. Because if you were just to read the first hadith in which we have read, right, where the Prophet ﷺ, he would read upon himself the last three surahs, and then he would wipe over himself. You don't get a clear description on how was this wiping. Like if you wanted to imitate that wiping from that hadith, you can't. You don't have the description. You don't have the description, right? So in this other hadith that comes in Sahih Bukhari, when our mother narrated this, it says, فَلَمَّا ثَقُلَ كُنْتُ أَنْفُثُ عَلَيْهِ بِهِمْ. But when the sickness became really strong upon him, then I would spittle, and then wipe him by way of them. right? And it refers to them in the feminine, yani the hand. Why? Because it's referring to his two hands. It's referring to his two hands. وَأَمْسَحُ بِيَدِهِ نَفْسِهِ لِبَرَكَتِهَا لِبَرَكَتِهَا. And I would wipe him with his own hands due to the barakah, the blessings that were inside of his hands. Na'am. The one who was listening to this hadith from our mother, who was taking it from our mother, he asked her, كيف ننفو? كيف ينفو? How did the Prophet ﷺ used to spittle and wipe over himself? How did he used to do that? Because again, just from what was mentioned, there's no specific description on how that is done, right? So he asked, and how did he used to do that? How did he spittle over himself? قال or the narrator with this hadith, he said he asked, we should say, said he asked, not our mother Aisha, but one who was in the chain of hadith, how did the Prophet ﷺ used to spittle over himself? He mentioned, he said, كان ينفث على يديه ثم يمسح بهما وجهه. He said that the Prophet ﷺ, he used to spittle inside of his hands, and then he would wipe his face. He would spittle inside of his hands, then he would wipe his face. No.
Did he do it before he recited or after he recited? After?
Yeah, after. Now this is just in the description as relates to this particular incident. We have other hadith where the Prophet ﷺ will wipe more than that. Right? Other hadith where he will wipe more than that. So, right. Everything he could reach from his butt. Like at nighttime before going to bed. Right? So, again, this also is important because by way in which we're able to identify that there are different ways of doing things depending upon what you're trying to accomplish, depending upon what you're doing. Right? Depending upon what you're doing. So in the case of a person who is sick and he's suffering from a sickness, then there's a benefit that they spittle inside of their hands and then wipe their face. Why? Because they're already sick, they're already ailing from whatever is ailing them. So it becomes easy now to utilize his treatment as opposed to every time they're trying to wipe over everything. That makes sense?
Okay, the face in the front of the body or just the face?
In this particular narration, for this it says his face. His face. Now, so here, this gives you some benefit in a way of treatment. Now again, there's more than one way of treating, as we're going to come to see bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. This is just a way. So this is something that you will put inside of your arsenal, put inside your medical bag, right, as a treatment when dealing with certain treatments. Now, so you're able to utilize this and then wipe over your face. But then there are going to be other ways, inshallah ta'ala, we'll come to see that you will do when it comes to reciting over yourself. Now, there comes, because a person, remember before we said that, recite over your family, recite over your children, and so on and so forth. Person, they say, okay, we see the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ recite over himself. Now, we see the hadith where a Sahabi recited over the chief of that village, right? Well, make the lead, but what's the proof to recite on your family? What's the proof to recite on your family? وفي صحيح مسلم عنها, the side of Sahih Muslim, on the authority of Aisha رضي الله تعالى عنها, قالت, she said, كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا مرض أحد من أهله, that the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, when one of his family members would get sick, what did he do? نفذ عليه بالمعوذات, then he would spittle upon them and read over them the quotes, the last three surahs. The last three surahs. So this is a proof that what? If someone in your family gets sick, you recite over them. You recite over them. Now, does that mean you don't also seek other types of medical treatment? No, not at all. Seek it all, it's fine. Right? But this is something that we should be doing, because this is something that a lot of people, it's like an abandoned sunnah with a lot of people. It's an abandoned sunnah with a lot of people. You don't see them doing it. You don't see them doing it. Now, subhanAllah, how many of the mothers, when the child is colicky, or the child is suffering from something that's bothering the child and so on and so forth, and they'll rock the child and they sing to it. They rock the child and singing to it. Wouldn't it be so much more better to recite over the child? Wouldn't that be better? Of course it'd be better. Now,
on YouTube they have crying babies, they play the Quran and stuff. They have a compilation of it. And then they played the music for the mom. It started crying. They switched back to crying.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. You see? So we remind you, every one of these things, because these are things that are forgotten. These things are forgotten, sunnahs. And these are things that we need, though. It's very important. As communities, we need it, especially when dealing with communities where we have a lot of blue-collar workers. Communities where a lot of the jobs that are allotted to us don't have good health care. We living in a country that, Allah musta'an, the healthcare system is just horrible. Horrible. For simple things, they charge you an arm and a leg that you can't even afford it. SubhanAllah. Right? It's like the ultimate extortion, SubhanAllah. Right? So with this type of situation, and brothers not having health care and so on and so forth, and not having access to certain medicines and so on and so forth, then this becomes very important. Imam Ibn Qayyim, what happened? When he was in Mecca, remember from the last sitting, and he got sick and he couldn't find any doctor, he couldn't find any medicine, then he just said, okay, I'm just going to, suffer. No, he recited Fatiha over himself. He utilized that as a treatment. Now, so if a person can't get access to whatever it is they need to get access to, in addition to still trying to get access to it, recite over yourself. Recite over yourself. These things are very, very important. But they're things that we're not benefiting from because we're not utilizing them. We're not utilizing them. Now, على كل حال وقولها الشيخ عبد الرزاق mentioned وقولها بمعوذات. What is meant by معوذات, he say أي الإخلاص والفلق والناس. نعم. ودخلت سورة الإخلاص معهما تغليبا لما اشتملت عليه من صفة الرب. He said, and Surah Al-Ikhlas is entered into them because of that which it contains from the description of our Lord, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. فإن لم يصرح فيها بلفظ تعويل. He said, even though it is not explicitly mentioned in it, the expression of seeking refuge. Right? Because a lot of people, and this is important, I mentioned it, and it's important that the Shaykh he mentioned. Why? Because when people hear mu'awidhat, they automatically go to those surahs that begin with قُلْ أَعُوذُ. Na'am, so they'll say falaq al-nas. But he mentions that no, also ikhlas you should also enter ikhlas into it. That is also a part of it. Why? Because of what it has in it from the description of Ar-Rahman. What it has in it from the description of our Lord, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You also enter it into it, even though you don't find in it the expression, I seek refuge in the Lord of. That makes sense? Nah. وقد دل الحديث على عظم شأن هذه السور and الثلاث. And there comes the hadith, in this hadith it points to the tremendous status of these three chapters. وأنها رقية, and that verily these are a ruqya, وشفاء, and these are a cure. These are a means by way in which an individual he would look for and seek for a cure. But the one who provides the cure and grants the cure is who? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah ta'ala is the one who cures those that become sick. That these are a cure, bi'idhnillah. These are a cure for disease by permission of Allah, or sickness by permission of Allah. وقد ورد في شأن هذه السور أحاديث كثيرة, and there are many ahadith that have come that speak about the the status of these particular verses. تدل على عظم شأنها, that shows the high status of these particular verses, or these particular chapters. فسورة المعوذتين and لهما تأثير عظيم. And then now the Shaykh is restricting talking about the last two surahs, Falaq and Nas. He said that these two surahs have a tremendously powerful effect. لا سيما إن كان المرض ناشئا عن السحر أو عين أو نحو ذلك. He said, and especially if the sickness emanates from magic and from evil eye and the like of that. Now, and the like of that. I want to stress this, and I want to stress this again and again and again and again. A person think somebody put magic on him, right? A person think somebody put evil eye on him. Oh, it's the ain or something, right? And especially a lot of people, they just, everything is the ain, everything is sihr, right? Everything. And sometimes that's the case, and sometimes it's not the case. Sometimes it's the case, sometimes it's not the case. But in any event, when the person gets this, it's sihr, or maybe it's ain. What they start doing? Anybody know Raqi? Anybody know Raqi? I know brother so-and-so, I think he's Raqi. Let's bring him here. Let's do this, let's do that, and that. Why? They give you recited over. Okay, now, may take brother so-and-so, Allahu A'lam, how long, to make the arrangements, to get his plane ticket, whatever, to get his, gas toll, whatever the case may be. And now, days go by, weeks go by. So what, the person is suffering? Because you waiting on brother so-and-so to come recite? The person who's afflicted can recite itself? You were concerned, bystander, recite. This your family recite. But you wait on brother so-and-so. They suffering. Brother so-and-so, we're going to pick him up from the airport. He going to be here, don't worry. This is what he got. SubhanAllah, what is this? What kind of father is you? You understand what I'm saying? It's like if your child needed some cough medicine. Your child needs some cough medicine. You're going to tell your baby, oh, just be patient. Be patient. The brother going to go to Walgreens and he'll be back in 3 days. You look like a fool. People look at you like, what kind of father is you? What are you doing? What are you doing? Do it yourself. And you have the ability to go do it yourself in a more expedited time frame, and you're going to wait for brother so-and-so. It makes no sense. Really, it makes no sense. Because if you're doing that and you acclimate yourself into that type of thinking, then what is it really about? You think brother so-and-so got some kind of recitation that's going to come and just knock it out because brother so-and-so is just like that? What's your understanding about this, brother? What's your understanding about how this thing works? What's wrong with your connection between you and your Lord? Right? So whether brother so-and-so is alive or dead, here or not, does that have anything to do with who gets cured and who doesn't? Not at all. Not at all. And what's the proof of that? Is that people was getting cured before brother so-and-so was born, and people will be getting cured after brother so-and-so was dead. The brother so-and-so don't cure nobody. Right? So, anyway.
So, Sheikh, the last two surahs on here is in Al-Baqarah, right? We was talking about, right? The last two you were talking about?
No, these last two here are the last two in the Quran. Falaq al-Nas. Now, this is one what the Shaykh is mentioning right now about Falaq al-Nas. That Surah al-Falaq and Surah al-Nas, they have a tremendous effect, especially if the sickness is due to magic and evil eye. Now, if it's due to magic and evil eye, tremendous effect. Tremendous effect.
Healing in general, just...
Also for healing in general, all types, because the Prophet ﷺ, when he was sick, he would use them too, right? But especially if it's dealing with magic. Tremendous effect. Now, so the point is that this is the type of medicine that it only has an upside. There's no bad side effects. You know what I'm saying? Like the pharmacist ever sit there and read to you the side effects over something that your doctor had prescribed you? It make you scared because you read them side effects. You say, "Man, that's worse than the thing I'm suffering from." For real, right? You read the side effects. You're like, "Man, them side effects is more serious than why I'm taking it." I just had eczema. You talk about it may shut my kidneys down, cause temporary blindness. I mean, you know what I'm saying? And subhanAllah, I'm supposed to take that and risk all of that just so my skin clear up? Eternal bleeding, your tongue might fall out, Allah understand. Yeah? No way, I'm okay. But that's what happens when, people playing around with chemicals, all this type of stuff. Because see, the reality of it is, and this is why these things are important, And as Muslims, we have to, we really have to take ownership of our situations. This is the reality. Just like we mentioned from the hadith of those Sahabi who came and asked if they could stay. They said no, they went to their own thing. You have to take ownership of your situation. You trust in these people as if these people have your best interest in mind. They do not have your best interest in mind. They make more money off of treating your sickness than they do off of giving you something that they think is going to cure your sickness. You understand what I'm saying? They make more money. Because if you cure a person's sickness, right? We're taking a step back now. But if you cure a person's sickness and you say, okay, this costs $5,000, right? This red pill, $5,000. But then whatever you're suffering from is gone. That's it. They can only get $5,000 per patient. But if I treat you now, and it only costs you $19.99 a month. But you have to do it for the rest of your life. They're going to make a lot more than $5,000 off you. So now if you add the exorbitant prices that major pharma, they charging people for stuff where this one little prescription, $300 a month, $500 a month, $1,000 a month. So you got some that are thousands a month, $18,000 a month, or $18,000 a regimen. A regimen is 3 months for one person. They make more money treating sickness than they do curing sickness. So if you think that they have your best interest in mind and they really want to see you get better, you are a fool. You are a fool yourself. So you're going to trust these people, or you're going to take ownership of your own situation? That's why I was stressing that the Muslims need to be getting into the likes of these things to take this away from these individuals. Now, of course, probably won't be able to practice in America. Right? But, inshallah ta'ala, the Muslims will benefit. The Muslims will benefit, and the people who's around will benefit, whatever that case may be. FDA probably not going to approve it here, but, it is what it is. Right?
Now with this 3 quarter, you do it 3 times? Or you say 3 times? How many times?
There's no number. However many times, remember, the ruqya is something that could be 1 or 2 times, or something that could be over and over and over and over and over again for long periods of time. Now, right. It doesn't mention. Right. It doesn't mention any set number in these particular narrations. Right, for these particular treatments, again, there comes certain narration that you say certain things certain number of times. It's very specific.
Okay.
So this is what I want. I want to build your arsenal. I want to build your arsenal. So if you take it for example, it's like NSAIDs, right? You got ibuprofen, you got acetaminophen, you got naproxen, and so on and so forth. These are different types of medicine, have different benefits and side effects, whatever. But the point is that I want to give you different things. You can use this in this situation, use that in this situation, that in this situation, right? So it's not one. It's not a one fit all type of thing. But they come from very specific things. As we're going to see, inshallah ta'ala, there are going to be certain things that you recite. Certain things you spit on inside your hand, you wipe your face. Other times, you put your hand on the source of the pain itself when you say certain things. So they're different things depending upon what you're dealing with. Depending upon what you're dealing with. But as relates to the last two surahs, Imam Ibn Qayyim, he mentions, he has a tremendous book that deals with the last 2 surahs. But in the muqaddimah of that book, he mentions, he says, kalamu ala hatayni suratayn, he said that the speech upon, Imam Ibn Qayyim, he said that the speech upon these 2 surahs, these 2 chapters, وَبَيَانُ عَظِيمِ مَنْفَعَتِهِمَا, and the explaining their tremendous benefit, their tremendous and outstanding benefit. وَشِدَّةِ الْحَاجَةِ. And I want you to listen to what Imam Ibn Qayyim is saying, because these are surahs that the vast majority of the Muslims know them. The vast majority of the Muslims know them, but I don't think we appreciate them because we really don't understand their importance. Imam Ibn Qayyim, he says, وَشِدَّةِ الْحَاجَةِ, and the extreme need. He said that the very strong need for these surahs. And then the Imam, he stepped back. He said, Bel. He said, no, rather, الضرورة إليهما. Right? He said, and how we really need these surahs? No, no, no. How these surahs are necessary. They are a vital necessity. A vital necessity. Now, something that you need a lot is tremendous. But a vital necessity is even more than that. So he said that these are, we need them a lot? No, no, no. Rather, they are a vital necessity. Now listen to what he says. He says, وَأَنَّهُ لَا يَسْتَغْنِي عَنْهُمَا أَحَدٌ قَطَّ. He said, and no one could ever be free of needing them. No one could ever be free of needing them. He says, وَإِنَّ لَهُمَا تَأْثِيرًا خَاصًا فِي الدَّفْءِ السِّحْرِ وَالْعَيْنِ وَسَائِرِ الشُّرُورِ. He said, and that these surahs, they have a specific and tremendous effect on repelling magic, repelling evil eye, and the vast majority of evil things. Now, this is tremendous. Why? Because when a person utilizes these surahs to repel magic, repel evil eye, so on and so forth. How do these two surahs start? قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ الْفَلَقِ. Naam, what is that? Tawheed. Naam. قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ. It's Tawheed. What type of Tawheed is that? What category? Rabb. Rububiyyah. Naam. قُلْ أَعُوذُ بِرَبِّ النَّاسِ مَالِكِ النَّاسِ, the Lord of mankind. What kind of Tawheed is that? Asma wa Sifat. Ilahi النَّاسِ. The only one who is worshipped, the only one worthy of worship by the human beings. That's what? Uluhiyyah. That's the three categories of Tawheed right there. The Quran start with Tawheed, middle Tawheed, end with Tawheed. Kitab al-Tawheed is Quran. Naam. Right. So, this is what repelled magic and evil eye. But now the shayateen, they come and they give you a little blue hand with an eyeball inside of it. They call it hand of Fatima. Yeah, the Fatima. Right? I don't know where get that name from, but whatever. But we know it's not. It's nothing. It's shirk. A talisman. You're using a talisman to repel evil eyes. So using shirk to fight shirk. Subhanallah. You see how the shayateen play with the human being? You see that? You see how the shayateen play with the human being? Person gets sick because of some kufr, some shirk, some sihr. Naam. And then they tell you, oh, you want to cure sihr? You shirk. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. But how do you destroy it? You destroy it from what? Tawheed. You destroy it from Tawheed. Naam. So that these particular surahs, then we need them because they have a special effect in getting rid of the evil eye, magic, and and all of the rest of the evil things. وَأَنَّ الْحَاجَةَ الْعَبْدِ إِلَى الْإِسْتِعَاذَةِ بِهَاتَيْنِ سُورَتَيْنِ. And that a person's need to seek refuge in Allah utilizing these two surahs. I want you to listen to this because it's really not understated. If we understand the need that we have to seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the evils of the shayateen and so on and so forth and the things that may harm us, then we need these two surahs. The Shaykh he mentions, Imam al-Qayyim he mentions, he says that the need of the abd to seek refuge in Allah, utilizing these two surahs, a'zam, is greater. Now, min hajatihi is greater than his need in a nafas, wa ta'am, wa sharab, wa libas. He said he is in more need of seeking refuge in Allah by way of these two surahs. He needs that more than he needs to breathe, than he needs food, than he needs drink, than he needs clothing. Do we really understand this? Listen, check this out. Shaykh Raslan, Hafidhullah Ta'ala, mentions something beautiful about starting your day and ending your day by making the afkar. Because from the benefits that a person gets when he starts it from these afkar, na'am, is that their protection from the shayateen. The protection from the shayateen. Do we think that shaitan, that these shayateen, they take a break? Do we think they take a break? No. The war is on. The fight is real. They coming at you every day, like it or not. They're coming at you every day, whether you remember or you forgot. It doesn't matter to them. They fighting you every day. Now, if you knew, you come out your house every day and somebody is sitting there and he got a stick. As soon as you come out, he got a stick, he's trying to hit you. Are you ever going to come out your house slipping? Are you ever going to come out your house, you're not armed? Ever? Never. Are you ever going to come out your house and okay, we saying a stick. Maybe it's something more than a stick. Maybe it's a bat. Maybe it's a machete. Maybe it's whatever. You're going to come out your house and you're not armed to the teeth? You understand what I'm saying? The SWAT team, when the SWAT team go inside places, they go inside places of high hostility. It's potential high hostility. It might be, it might not be. They don't know. Might be a person with a 22. Might be a person with a paintball gun. Might be a person with an AK. Might be a person with a rocket launcher. They come in the same way. They don't care. You got a fake gun. They coming in the same way strapped. Why? Because it's a potential harm. They might get hurt. Do they come in half stepping? No, they come in body armor. You know, they come in with the shield. They come in with all the bells and whistles they got at their disposal. Their paramilitary gear. They coming strong. They coming strong because they know what they might encounter. Okay, you know you're definitely going to encounter it, and then you get up and you run out and you don't make the dhikr of the morning and of the evening. Sheikh Raslan, he said, "Anta malum." He said, "You're to blame." La talumu illa nafsa. He said, "Don't blame nobody but yourself." If something bad happened to you, because these shayateen got one over on you, he said, don't blame nobody but yourself. He said, because you was the one that was foolish enough, and I'm paraphrasing, you were the one that was foolish enough to come out his house blazing and brazing his chest without being armed. He didn't come out with your weapons. And then now something bad happened to you, he said, blame yourself. You didn't make it dhikr. You didn't say your adhkar. You didn't say your adhkar, so blame yourself. Now, so when we understand that the fight is real like that, then we understand that what we need to grab our weapons. And our weapons, and from the greatest of our weapons, is what? Is these last two surahs. ثم يعني بسط الكلام عليهما يعني بسطا عظيما النفع والفائدة. And then he went into great depth giving tafsir of these two surahs with tremendous, outstanding benefit that was derived, and points of benefit that were derived from it. This is an encouragement for all of us to learn Arabic, so we can have access to books like this and we can read through them, so that we can benefit bidnillahi ta'ala. Also, from those things that we utilize, and this one we're going to see some more specific ways, is what? وَمِمَّا يُرْقَى بِهِ الْمَرِيضُ. And from that which the sick person, he utilizes to recite over himself for medical treatment, مَا ثَبَتَ فِي صَحِيحِ Muslim, is that which comes authentic in Sahih Muslim. نعم. عن عثمان ibn Abi Aus, on the authority of Uthman ibn Abi Aus رضي الله تعالى عنه, أنه شكى إلى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وجعا في جسده منذ الأسلم, that he complained to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam about a pain he had in his body from an ailment. He had a pain in his body from an ailment that he had since he became Muslim. Since he accepted Islam, he had this pain in his body. Now you know pain is of two types. You have a pain that is general, and you have a pain that is localized. Now the pain that is general is that you know it hurts, right? You say, what's the matter? It hurts. I'm in pain. What's in pain? Everything. It's a general pain. You can't specify it, right? It's general. But a localized pain is a pain you can put your finger on. What hurts? This right here. Right here hurts. Right here hurt? Little to the left? No. Little to the right? No. Right here. It hurt right here. It don't hurt here. It don't hurt here. It don't hurt right here. That's a localized pain. That's a pain that you can put your finger on. Nah? So for this type of localized pain, there's treatment. There's treatment from ruqya. Nah, for localized pain. When he mentioned this to the Prophet ﷺ, فقال له رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, to the Prophet ﷺ, he said unto him, ضع يدك على الذي تألم من جسدك. He said, put your hand on the place that hurts you in your body. the place that hurt you, put your hand on it. Put your hand on it. Naam. وَقُلْ, and say, Bismillah thalathan. And say Bismillah 3 times. You say Bismillah, how many times? 3 times. Naam. He said, وَقُلْ سَبْعَ مَرَّاتٍ. And then 7 times you say. 7 times you say, أَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ أعوذ بالله وقدرته من شر ما أجد وأحاذره. Then you say, I seek refuge in Allah. I seek refuge in Allah and in His ability and His might from the evil that I find. وأحاذره, and أحاذره. Naam. This is for what? Again, a localized pain. So now we know if your child or your wife is suffering pain and it's localized, they can put their finger on it, then in that case, what would you want to do? Put your hand on it, that area, say Bismillah 3 times, and then 7 times you say, أعوذ بالله وقدرته من شر ما أجد وأحاذره. That, I seek refuge in Allah I seek refuge in Allah in His might and ability from the evil that I find, وَأُحَاذِرُ. The evil that I find, وَأُحَاذِرُ. And I'm not translating that for a reason. Because that's one of the things, and maybe it's due to my weakness in English, where I don't think the translation really gives it like credit. You know, you lose some stuff. But inshallah ta'ala, the Shaykh explains it, so we're going to benefit more from it. Now, this is very important because certain headaches also are localized. Certain headaches are localized. You got certain headaches that radiate on one side, some on the other side, some here, some there, a different type. But some are localized. Now, if you have the likes of this type of pain, put your hand on it and you say this. Now, 7 times. The statement, وَقَوْلُهُ صَلَى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وسلم, مِنْ شَرِّ مَا أَجِدُ, from the evil that I find, أي مِنْ شَرِّ مَا أَجِدُ مِنْ وَجَعٍ وَأَلَمٍ, from the evil that I find, meaning from this pain that I find, from this sickness and from this aching, this pain, right? وَمِنْ شَرِّ مَا أُحَاذِرُ, and from the evil that أُحَاذِرُ مِنْ ذَلِكَ, and the evil that I'm fearful will strike me from that, right? So from what I find, and also from what I fear may come as a result from the ailment that is here. Naam, ay ma akhafu wa ahdharu, meaning that which I'm scared of and I'll beware of it. I'm scared of it and I'll beware of it. Naam, because we know that certain sicknesses, they lead to other things. Certain sicknesses may lead to other sicknesses and other ailments. Naam, so the Shaykh, he mentions, he says, وَهَذَا تَعَوُّذ من الوجع الذي هو فيه. In this is why you see that which was taught to us by the Prophet ﷺ is the best of what can be utilized, and this even applies for dua in general. The best dua in general is the dua that was taught to us by the Prophet ﷺ, because the benefits that come from them, they are far more reaching than what we may come to say from ourselves. Right? So you're going to benefit more. Because in this dua, you're seeking refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the sickness that you actually have at this time. Na'am. وَتَعَوُذْ مِنَ الْوَجْعِ الَّذِي يَخَافُ حُصُولًا. And you're also seeking refuge in Allah from whatever sickness that may come about stemming and emanating from that sickness that is present right now. So you're seeking refuge in the sickness that you got right now, and the sickness that didn't even hit you yet, but may can come from this sickness. So that's subhanallah. Na'am. أو يتوقع حصوله في المستقبل, or a sickness that you may get afflicted with in the future. So the sickness that I find right here, that which may emanate from it, or a sickness I may get in the future, maybe unrelated. It encompasses all of those things. نعم. ومن ذلك تفاقم المرض الذي هو فيه وتزايده. And from this, what he is taking precaution, he is seeking refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from the sickness that's in him to increase and to become worse. Right? He's seeking refuge in Allah from the sickness that he has from increasing and becoming worse. So he's asking Allah to remove it and not to let it get worse, not to let the sickness escalate inside of his body. وَهَذَا يَحْصُلُ لِلْإِنسَانِ كَثِيرًا عندما يصاب بالمرض. And this happens a lot when the people, they get afflicted with a sickness. Is that what? فَإِنَّهُ, and subhanallah, on this point, that a person is afflicted with a sickness, and then that sickness leads to other sicknesses. Remember we were talking about that these pharmaceutical industry, they want to keep you sick? That's the reality. They want to keep you sick. A doctor will prescribe you medicine for diabetes, right? Or for high blood pressure, knowing that an extended use of that medicine will damage your kidneys. They notice that you use this medicine, it's a toxin. They put all this other type of stuff inside of it, whatever, right? They know you use this for an extended period of time. You take this 10 years straight, it's going to destroy your kidneys. But once your kidneys get destroyed, it's okay, because I'm going to prescribe you something that help your kidneys. But the thing that help your kidneys might mess this up, might mess your liver up, and so on and so forth. And then when it mess your liver up, then we're going to give you another prescription, and we're going to give you with this. And that's how you see the old people, they come in and they got like 40 pills they take every day. You understand? Because they give you something that's going to make you sick with something else. Then they treat that sickness that's going to make you sick with something else. And they treat that sickness to make you sick with something else. And here you went to the doctor because you had one sickness. You take his prescription, now you walk away, you got 10. That sound like your friend? Nah, not at all. That's your enemy. Yeah. So, but when you make this dua, you're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He cured that sickness, and that He doesn't allow the sickness to lead to another sickness, and He doesn't allow that sickness to increase. It's benefit on top of benefit on top of benefit. The Shaykh mentioned, says, because how many people they get sick with a sickness, يعني فإنه قد نعم, that they get sick with a sickness, وقد ينتابه شيء من القلق, that they get sick with a sickness, and then that sickness it subsequently increases. It subsequently increases, right? To which yani, that person he becomes worried because of it. يعني تخوفا من تزايد المرض. He becomes worried. He has stress and anxiety, because he's scared that sickness is going to increase and he gets even more sicker. نعم. وفي هذا الدعاء العظيم التعوذ, يعني تعوذ بالله من ذلك. But inside of this hadith, then there is a seeking refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from that. So in this hadith again, when the pain is localized, you can put your hand on it, on the general area of it. Then you put your hand and you say 3 times, Bismillah. And then 7 times you recite the following dua, أعوذ بالله وقدرته من شر ما أجد وأحاذره. That I seek refuge in Allah and with His might and ability from the evil that I find, meaning the pain that I'm finding, and or the sickness that I'm finding, and from that which may emanate or from that sickness becoming increased, or leading to other subsequent sicknesses based upon stemming from the sickness, seeking refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from all of those things. And then the Shaykh rahimahullah ta'ala, he goes on to mention a tremendous piece of medical treatment that the angel Jibreel alayhi salatu wasalam, he taught to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. One time when the Prophet ﷺ, he was suffering from an ailment, that the angel Jibreel, he taught the Prophet ﷺ to say this next dua, as it comes in the Sunnah from Sahih Muslim on the authority of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. But inshallah ta'ala, we'll save that to the next class. If I die tonight and don't get a chance to come back, it won't be no more next class. But inshallah ta'ala, my beloved brothers and my beloved colleague and my beloved elder will teach it to you, inshallah ta'ala. Na'am, inshallah ta'ala, will teach it to you, bidlillahi ta'ala. فنكتفي بهذا القدر. وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وجزاكم الله خيرا.